Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I wanted to talk a bit about the new statement that Jagex just released regarding third-party clients. Now this just came out a few minutes ago, so it's hot off the press and well, let's have a look at it. Okay, now first up here before we even get into it, no, they're not going to be banning RuneLite, and they're not going to be banning OSBuddy. No third-party clients are specifically being targeted. Okay, for as long as old school has existed, unofficial clients have existed alongside it. While these did not initially cause significant issues, over time some add-ons offered by clients have become too intrusive, affecting the gameplay in unacceptable ways and competing for players' attention by offering increasingly overpowered benefits. While in the past we have made it clear that players using unofficial clients are doing so entirely at their own risk, we'd like to take this opportunity to offer some clarity. As the game owners, we need to look both at the current situation and where things will inevitably go in the future. We are going to be more proactive in protecting the interests of the game by outlining what features are acceptable and acting if these features are abused. Now essentially what they want to do is limit the features on each individual client and not target a specific one. So they're considering features which enable you to bypass gameplay mechanics to be unacceptable. For an example, those which might indicate where projectiles would land, where NPCs would spawn, and which protection prayers activate. And the same could be said for features which might modify how you select actions in the game, or change how you click on menus, players, or NPCs, especially if the feature leads you to use fewer clicks than you would using our own client. Okay, and then below here, they give it a list of features which are not acceptable. As they mentioned, this is not an exhaustive list. There are other things that should be on here, but these are just examples. For example, a feature that allows you to engage in blackjacking NPCs with fewer clicks than the base client. Features which allow you to interact with altars with fewer clicks than the base client. Features which allow you to interact with construction hotspots and items with fewer clicks. Features that allow you to interact with logs with fewer clicks. Features which could tell you where Vorkath attacks might land. A feature that could tell you exactly where to stand to avoid Zulrah attacks. And features which could tell you what the next demonic gorilla attack will be. Now these specific examples are mostly targeted at OSBuddy, as I think the first 3 or 4 are features that they added very recently. The only feature that I think RuneLite has as part of this example list is one of the features does tell you where NPCs might spawn. But that could be easily removed. However, the rest of these are either OSBuddy or RuneLite Plus. As we've said, this is not an exhaustive list, and we reserve the right to add features to this list in the future. We'll continue to monitor community concerns about other specific features and offer more clarity if it's needed. We are assessing our options on how best to enforce this, but ultimately, use of unacceptable features, which we consider to be detrimental to the community's experience of the game, will result in account bans. However, we don't want players to be left in constant fear of possible bans, so we'll give advance warning if any additional features are being considered for the list. This statement isn't meant to cover all possibilities since new ones may emerge at any time, but it should give you more clarity on what you can or can't do in the meantime. We hope to offer more clarity in the future, and we are going to reach out to the community to identify the right long-term solution, which strikes the right balance between player enjoyment and game integrity. Okay, well that was a fair bit of nothing. Now I do like the approach of specifically banning features from the clients, and I like that they did give some examples and features which need to be removed and which ones are not okay. But goddamn, that was just a lot of nothing. This really just reeks of a statement to appease the player base. They didn't really have a solution. They didn't even really have much that they're going to be changing right now. Now I don't really blame them for releasing the statement now because people were really pressuring them for a response, but God, I wish they had more than that. Now right now the Q&A is going on, and the first part of it was regarding third-party clients, which they kind of briefly touched on at the beginning. One of the first questions is, are you communicating with the devs of these third-party clients? They said there has been some communication with them. However, if you are developing a third-party client, you are encouraged to contact Jagex for clarification. Seems like in the first question of the Q&A, they're admitting that their statement is not very clear, and if you're actually developing third-party clients, you probably should contact them. Now, if the policy changes on third-party clients and some features are now bannable, what are you going to do to the players that have abused them for years now? Well, essentially, they are not going to be retroactively banning players for breaking the rules. They're only going to take it forward. So if you were using a Zulrah plugin or you were using a one-tick prayer plugin, you are not going to be banned unless you continue to use them in the future. Now, one thing they did mention is they're going to be updating this exact blog post with any extra features they're banning or any updates regarding the third-party statement, as none of these statements are in the player handbook or on the help section of the RuneScape website. What are you going to do to players that abuse these features in the future? Well, they said something yada yada yada, long-term solution, but ultimately they are going to be banning players if you do abuse the features. However, in the future, they're trying to come up with a more long-term solution, whatever that means. What are you going to do to clients that are caught developing features that Jagex has blacklisted? Of course, they are still assessing the correct way forward, but they did mention there could be legal consequences. However, one really interesting thing here is it may not be made public, which means we may never know if they take down clients. Maybe if there's a smaller client, we may never know if they hit them with some legal ramifications. And last up here, why is there no updates to the base client? This was the most nothing answer ever. They mentioned that there were some impulsive actions with shutting down Runelight, which is not even related. They said if we further dev our own client, how do we decide which features to choose? That also, I don't even understand. They mentioned something about we could change our client to C++ to make it easier to update. So anyway, no hate on the JMods releasing the statement. I understand it felt kind of forced, but I'm sure it was. Obviously, they don't really have a lot of information yet, but they are probably working on it. During the Q&A, the JMods mentioned that they have not seen this level of interest regarding the third-party clients around Jagex since they've worked there. Now, what is my impression of this new update? I don't think anything has changed. A lot of these things they say are bannable. Like, I don't really know if you could detect individual features that don't actually interact with the game, like tracking respawn timers. Like, is there any way to detect that even? It might just be a bluff. Now, I do understand why they don't want to give an exhaustive list of which plugins are allowed and which ones aren't, as that will give more room for people to try to squirm around, maneuver, and to come with workarounds that aren't on the list that they've given. However, I think the best thing they could do is just go through every feature on most of the major clients and just either okay them or say that they're unacceptable, and create a giant list of which features are allowed and which ones are not. And it could still be with the understanding that some features may not be listed on there, some future features may be bannable and added to the list. I don't really see an issue with that, and I think it's better than what we have now, which is just confusion and vague PR statements. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you think of the third-party client stance. Has anything really changed? What do you think is going to happen in the future? Let me know. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate if you left a like in the video, and I will see you next time.